Yeah, and I wonder if back to the song, if like that's what it means to get into the air balloon, hot air balloon. Like I think like sometimes it's a great big wow. Sometimes it really is, right? But you have to like there are places, if you let's say like the Grand Canyon or, New Zealand happens to be, my example of this, right? Like it's just breathtaking, like literally breathtaking. There's nothing else to say about it, but you have to get out to the Grand Canyon. You have to get on a plane. You have to get on a hot air balloon. You have to open your eyes, whatever it takes. There is an action that we're required to do. And even to experience the wonders of the world, we have to make a choice to experience that wow or to immerse ourselves in that.
That was Rabba Yaffa Epstein from a conversation we had in late 2024 inspired by the song Morning Prayer, which was itself inspired by Psalm 143 and was written by Liz Hanlon and me. I'm Shep Rosenman, and this is The Rest is Commentary, where we explore what songs inspired by the Psalms or Tehillim inspire in my guests. Rabba Yaffa is the senior scholar and educator in residence at the Jewish Education Project. Formerly, she served as the director of the Wexner Heritage Program at the Wexner Foundation. Yaffa also served as the Director of Education North America for the Pardes Institute of Jewish Studies and was a member of the Pardes faculty. She served on the faculties of Yeshivat Maharat and the Drisha Institute and as an educator and scholar in residence for the Dorot Fellowship, Moshe House, Jewish Federation of North America, the Covenant Foundation, the Nahum Goldman Fellowship, Repair the World, and the Me'orot Fellowship, and the Kadima Fellowship. She is a favorite presenter at numerous Limud events around the globe, has written curriculum for the Global Day of Jewish Learning, and has created innovative educational programming for Hillel, the Foundation for Jewish Campus Life. She received rabbinic ordination from Yeshivat Maharat, earned an additional private ordination from Rabbi Daniel Landis, holds a law degree from Bar Ilan University, and studied at the Talmud Department at Hebrew University. Rabba Yaffa is passionate about making Jewish learning accessible and exciting, and creating learning environments that are welcoming, diverse, and inclusive to all who wish to participate. Rabba Epstein is the winner of the prestigious Covenant Award. Most important for me, Yaffa is my rabbi, mentor, dear friend, and Hevrusa. We discuss spiritual life holding both inner darkness and outer light, prayer being more than a routine and being a deeper search for meaning, prayer working best when structure and spontaneity support each other, the moments before prayer as part of prayer itself, real growth meaning to face pain and doubt honestly, and so much more. Let's begin by listening to version 1 of Morning Prayer.
Tomorrow comes intently.
slumberland, sorrows left on solid ground, dark of night disbands. Good morning, world, good morning. Good morning, great big world. Good morning, world, good morning, great big world. Good morning, world, good morning. Good morning, great big world. Good morning, world, good morning, great big world. Good morning, world, good morning, great big world. Good morning, world, good morning, great big world. Hello, Yaffa. It's so good to see you.
Hello, my friend. It's always wonderful to see you and be with you.
Well, once we're labeling, then I can say hello, my friend, and Rabbi or Rabba, whatever you prefer.
I prefer Hevrusa.
That too. We've done a lot together over the years, including your graciousness in agreeing to be a guest on this podcast. For some people, I say victim, but you're just a guest.
That's good. It bodes well for our time together. That's good.
So my shita, my perspective on this whole process is every song that I write is a gift from somewhere. I like to say it's from God. And so I offer each song as a gift to a friend or mentor. And in this case, it's a friend and mentor and Hevrusa, in hopes that in the same way that I was inspired to write it, it inspires something in you. Love, loathing, hope, hatred, questions, commentary. That's the question. The question is, what, if anything, did it inspire in you? And we'll go from there.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Shep. So I have mostly, as I do when I approach any text, I have like a lot of questions. I want to ask you a bunch of questions. What does this mean to you? What is your connection between the Psalm 143 and the song? I'm really curious about the genre of music that you chose, because I know you do lots of different genres. And why did this psalm excite you for this kind of music? I also know that you sort of called this morning prayer. So that was really interesting to me. I think about the song in the context of prayer and specifically morning. And we'll talk more about this, I think, as we go. But when I think about morning prayer, the first thing that comes to my mind is Avraham. And what does it mean what does morning mean? What is like the firstness? What does it mean to begin something, a day, a religion? Those are some of the questions that it brought up in me.
Okay, fabulous. Those are fascinating and fabulous questions. All right, so as you can see, so there's a lot of information on the screen. So first of all, there's the title of the song, Morning Prayer, the psalm we connected it to. I'll explain who we is in a minute. And then there's all this numbers and letters. Let's start there. FSC stands for Fearless Songwriting Challenge. And 1122 means that we wrote it in November 2022 on day 4 of the Fearless Songwriting Challenge. And here's the Tehillim. During the 2022 Fearless Songwriting Challenge, my friend Timmy gave us this prompt. Way off the ground was the text prompt, and this big balloon was the visual prompts, because he always gives us 2 prompts. Okay, Diana with the sharing for now. Or actually, let's go to the lyrics. So big balloon, as you can see, I don't know why. Okay, there it goes. Big balloon is a direct lift, pardon the pun, from the visual prompt. And so is honestly the rest of the song. And it's really important for me to identify that this is one of the many songs that I co-wrote with Liz Hanlon. She's a friend of mine in New York. We've known each other since college. We're writing poetry, not together as a team, but, side by side back in college. I was writing lyrics. She was writing poems. And we started writing together years ago. And since then, we've written over 90 songs together. Some of them Psalms related, some of them not. And what happens a lot is one of us starts the process. She started this process. And honestly, the final version of the song looks like everything she wrote, with the caveat that we moved some things around and I added a few lines at the beginning of the bridge. And that's because I always like connecting things to Tehillim when I can. And to me, so I am going a little bit out of order because I haven't quite answered the what does it mean to me. You know, I'm going to stay in order. I'm going to be all over the place here. What does it mean to me? It means wow. That's the song that comes up. It's whether it's on a balloon or seeing your baby or going to a shiur by the amazing Rabba Yaffa Epstein or our friend Rabbi Dr. Rafi Zaram or Rabbi David Kasher or there are these moments of wow. And I think the song for me means every day is an opportunity for wow. And that's why the setting is early in the morning. It could have been the afternoon. It could have been the end of the day, but it's the beginning of the day. And what is your kavana, your intention for the day? And I think that that's what the overall geschäft of the song is.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. I think also I'm a big lyrics person, and I really love words of a song. And it's interesting because I wonder what would have happened if I had read the lyrics before I had listened. I think that the tune of the song is so upbeat and it feels like a morning anthem, like good morning world, good morning. Like it's very Modeh-Ani-esque, right? It's very much, right, the morning prayer of gratitude that we say upon waking, like gratitude and thanksgiving and recognition of sort of God's wonders. And I really feel like the music lifted up the whole song into being that positivity. And it's sort of to me, it's interesting to think about in terms of the potential. And I know that some of the sources that you bring into this conversation also talk about the potential of the morning. What is possible when we start a new day and the power of that on the one hand, and just the wonder of waking up again in the morning. I felt both of those things, the potential that the morning holds and the wonder that we feel on waking. And I think it's not for nothing that also is supposed to engender in us this feeling of gratitude.
So why do you think that had you read the lyrics first, you might have had a different reaction?
Because I think maybe not but there's something actually maybe more serious in the words than in the chorus.
Mm-hmm. You mean the verses? Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you.
That's okay.
Thanks for that official music term. Yeah, there's something more more serious in the verses. You know, there's more potential for some of the complexity, I think. You know, like why do you want to leave behind the worldly sounds? Why, what is the night about? What is sorrow? Like, yes, mourning is the potential to let go of those things, but those things are present in the lyrics and in the world. The darkness is there. And I don't hear any darkness in the music. It's all very upbeat, whereas the lyrics do pull out some realities of darkness. Now, it's true that we have this new light and potential and wow, but there is a darker side in the lyrics that I don't hear in the music.
That's such an astute observation. Let me pull up the lyrics again. I'll use Sfaria this time, since it has everything in case we want to look at anything else. Let's just break it down. Big balloon lifts gently as hot air expands. Tomorrow comes intently. I don't really love the rhyme, but that's what we came up with, and I haven't come up with anything better. Painted Wonderland. All that's very positive. There's nothing, right? So we're setting the stage. Something's happening. We're going into the air.
I also wonder I know you were inspired by that picture, but I also wonder about if that could be reference to the sun.
Oh, it really could.
Right? Hot air expands. And I thought that might be like a sun reference there.
Morning sun bows greetings to the desert sands. Saguaros wave good morning with their rough-hewn hands. Again, we're still in a super positive. So look, we set the stage, but not specifically about the morning with Shema Tfilasi Ha'azina El Tachanunai, right? Lord, hear my prayer, give ear to my plea. That could have taken us in a very plaintive way.
Right.
Not plaintiff, but plaintive. Sorry, lawyer. But it's pasuk ches, the 8th verse. Hashmi'eni vaboker chasdecha kivecha vatachti hodieni derech zu elech ki elecha nasasi nafshi. All right, which I think the Koren translates as, let me learn of your faithfulness by daybreak, for in you I trust. Let me know the road I must take, for on you I have set my hope. And of course, to the extent God is in your life, you're choosing to trust God. And in doing so, you're giving yourself this opportunity for wonder, which again becomes a virtuous circle. When you experience the wonder, it allows you to trust God again, notwithstanding the fact that you had this nighttime experience, whether it was wrestling with a man in the middle of the night, or you lost your spouse, or you lost a job, or, whatever, your chazan was annoying this week, whatever it was.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting to me, I'll tell you, because earlier in the Psalm, David is coming from, right, this place of actual fear and despair. And the way that he removes himself from that seems to be, if you look at verse 5, which is like, I remembered Zaharti Abi Mikedem, right? Hagiti b'chol pa'alecha, b'masei yedecha esocheach, right? Like, then I remembered the days of old. I meditated on all of your works. Now I dare speak even of a creature of your hands. I actually went to look at the amazing things that you do, God. And through that, I think then what's interesting is then I can get to Pasuk 8 of, I remembered who you are, and then I could have faith in you.
Right.
And there's something about this of like, when I am in doubt or fear, there is something about encountering the wonder of the world that helps me find faith. I think it's interesting to ask what that is. But part of what I think is interesting by calling it morning prayer and focusing on the positivity is what you think the purpose of prayer is, right? So one of the ways to understand what the purpose of prayer is, gratitude piece, is this capacity to bless God. But there's also something I think about prayer that is about noticing what is not right. And prayer as a balm, in a way, for those moments. And I'll tell you what I'm sort of thinking about. Can I bring in the Abraham part now?
Please.
Okay. Because it's actually really to me, it's really fascinating, because the rabbis say in the Talmud, the rabbis come along and say that the prayer structure that we have today, morning, afternoon, evening prayers, those correspond to the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And they use verses from the Torah to prove that the forefathers are actually the ones who instituted different prayer services. And Abraham is Shacharit. He is the morning prayer, right? So when the song is called Morning Prayer, like for me, morning prayer equals Abraham, right? Right? Our first patriarch, he instituted prayer. He instituted the morning prayer. And he is the part of why they did this is because actually, if you look at the Torah, it's actually really fascinating to notice when the critical moments in our patriarchs' lives happened. So Abraham, 3 times in the Torah, it says, Vayash came Avraham baboker, Avraham got up in the morning. And each of those moments were actually, not to be a downer, Shep, but they were actually like terribly tragic moments in his life.
Yeah.
They were not the great moments. It wasn't like, and then he had a son and he woke up the next day and praised God. It was actually like one happened, and this is the one that they take in the Talmud. It was after the destruction of Sodom. And right, Abraham argues with God and says, you have to save this city. You can't kill a whole city. You can't do it. And they bargain back and forth. If there's 50 good people, if there's 40 good people, right? And save them, save them, save them. And God says he will save them if there are those righteous people, and they can't find enough righteous people to save the city, or God can't find enough righteous people to save the city. And the very next morning, after the destruction of Sodom, where Abraham can't save them, he gets up. Avram gets up the next morning and prays, according to the Talmud. And like that, to me, is such a powerful message of prayer, as the institution of this morning prayer is actually not when I was in a moment of wow, and not when I was in a moment of immense gratitude, but actually a moment of immense destruction. And the next morning I woke up and I said, I'm not giving up on my relationship with God.
Right.
I refuse to give up on that relationship. I am upset. I'm sad. I'm angry. I mean, I have no idea what Avram felt, but whatever it was, I brought it into my relationship. And I just find that really powerful and important. I think particularly in these days, I wonder if we would have this conversation 2 years ago or maybe 5 years ago. I don't know, what I would have said, but that's what happened for me when I read this. Was this is so super positive. And also dark of night disbands. How do I bring the night into my morning prayer? Or what is the relationship between dark of night disbanding and my morning prayer?
Yeah. So first of all, I think we're not thinking about this that differently. For me, when Avram chooses to get up, Vayashkem, which, by the way, for those who don't know Hebrew, Vayashkem doesn't only mean he got up. It means he got up early. Had zrizus. He had excitement. He wanted to start early, notwithstanding the fact that there was a loss of, I don't know how many thousands of people in Sodom and Amorah. It's almost that Abraham is saying, in the wake of loss and the wake of death and destruction, I am going to choose to engage. And that's where we have this prayer concept. Now, do we know exactly what he prayed? I don't think the rabbis specifically say, here's what Abraham's prayer was, right? So there's this thing that he said. And for me, it's not that the night goes away. I mean, in theory, in God's world, God could say, you know what? It's night forever. It's going to be winter. Winter is coming. And then it's, the zombies and dark of night disbands is a temporary thing. It is incumbent, and I keep coming back to this pasuk. I believe that this is at the core of Jewish philosophy. Gilu bir'ada. It's Psalm 2 or Psalm 3. It means rejoice in trembling. It is incumbent upon us to hold these conflicting things. The night doesn't go away. It's not all happy, joy. The night disbands and then comes back. There's a contraction going on, or a retraction that goes on. And for me, again, quoting other verses, we are not told Ivdu es Hashem. I'm sorry, we are told Ivdu es Hashem b'yira, but we are all in fear or awe, serve God in fear or awe. But we are also told Ivdu es Hashem b'simcha, serve God in joy. And this prayer, I don't know that I had Avraham in mind. I think when I was thinking about this, I was thinking of Yaakov and the dark night that he went through with the man. Again, I don't know what Liz was thinking, but that's what I was thinking. That's where the dark of night disband, and he crosses the river Yabok, and he's on his pathway, or the river Jabbok in pseudo English. So, in a way, once we kind of overlay the Avraham piece, I'm putting a prayer in Avraham's mouth that says, okay, it really sucks that God killed all these people. It really sucks that we couldn't find more than 9 people who were righteous in these cities. And you know what? I'm going to choose to believe that the world has many more righteous people in it. And I need to do something that's wondrous. And in order to do so, I'm going to look at the nature and the saguaros and the sun bowing. Now, it could be that Abraham was just grumbly and angry and pissy. And yet he said in his heart, I'm pissed at you, God. And that was the prayer. It could be. We don't know, but what we get to choose whenever we approach any prayer. And I believe that this is true even for people who don't believe in God, right? When you say congratulations or the Jewish equivalent, mazel tov, you may not believe in God, but you are saying, I hope good things happen to you. Right? So that is a prayer. Happy birthday is a prayer. Oh my God, that sunset is beautiful is a prayer. So for me, in a world of mitoch shelo lishma ba lishma, you look at that, and again, that's even if you don't mean it, you'll fake it till you make it. Each prayer that orients you towards hope, towards faith, towards something productive and positive puts you further along the road of faith, positivity, productivity, et cetera, et cetera. And that's why to now answer one of your other questions, and I think we've then covered all of them, we can keep talking, but that's why the music to me was so, I don't use this word often, but the rhythm is a jaunty rhythm. It's, I very specifically had the groove of Get Back in mind. Right? If you listen to the beginning of Get Back, my opening has hints of Get Back in it because that too was like a bouncy kind of melody. And this is one of the things that I learned. I had instincts about, but learned from the fabulous and incredible Mary Gauthier. I don't know if you've ever listened to her music. And that's Gauthier. In one of her songwriting classes, she said, if you want people to sing along, make your choruses short and easily repeatable. She also said, have long notes that people can sing. I know I don't have that in this particular chorus, but it's good morning, world, good morning. It's very easy. Good morning, great big world. Good morning, world. Good morning. Good morning, great big world. Now, so that note's sung out at the end, but it's easy for people to pick up, and it's a happy melody because the shape is happy. It opens you, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da, leaves you into the next thing rather than ba-da-da-da-da-da, which ends it off. And that's our music lesson for the day. I couldn't tell you if it starts on the 3rd or the 5th, but that's the idea.
So what I'm hearing you say is you chose that music because it actually is a charge. Really what you're saying is it's a charge. Whatever you're working with, whatever sort of ingredients, take them and turn them into, this is what I hear you say, gratitude and productivity. Use them, right? Like you're feeling, the darkness of the night, use it in your morning. Like you can actually bring that into your prayer or your gratitude practice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting because then it goes back to the psalm, because what I think is interesting is that David is using God's work in order to find that faith. So it actually connects really beautifully into verse number 5. Like, I'm going to talk about the good things that I know you've done, God. I want to remind myself. Maybe I want to remind you. I go backwards in order to find the strength sometimes to go forward. So I'm actually searching through God's creations to do that.
I think that is spot on. And I want to take a look at the text again with you because, so verse 5, I thought of the days of old. All right. So like things were good in the past. I remembered all your deeds. He says, recounted the works of your hands, the desert, the sun, the moon, the sea, et cetera, et cetera. And here's where David takes action. I stretched out my hands to you, longing for you like thirsty earth. So he's intentionally doing two things. He's going to God and he's using one of the images of God's creation as the image for how he reaches out to God. But then, and this is a classic David move, answer me quickly, O Lord, my spirit can endure no more. Do not hide your face from me, or I shall become like those who descend into the pit. Right. So he's now going into the negative. I can't sustain this, God. I need your help. And that's where he comes out with this new prayer. Let me learn of your faithfulness by daybreak. For you I trust. And that's where he goes into, save me from all my foes. I don't know how much longer I can handle this. And to me, I think that is such a beautiful expression of what we all go through. By way of example, like I come from a line of people with diabetes. I have pre-diabetes. I should not have sugar. I wake up in the morning and I say, okay, I'm not going to have sugar today. And I talk to my angels. I talk to God. I talk to little Sheppy. I talk to big Sheppy. And I say, please help me not have sugar today. Please help me get to the gym, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know that I can do this. That candy bar is calling out to me. Just remember, you want to do this because you want to stay healthy and be around for your grandchildren. And right. So like you go through this undulating back and forth, and ultimately David lands in a place of save me from my foes, literally. I mean, as if prostrating himself and giving himself over to God, saying, please help me, God. I need you to save me. But that only happens after he reaches first.
Yeah. And I wonder if back to the song, if like that's what it means to get into the air balloon, hot air balloon. Like I think like sometimes it's a great big wow. Sometimes it really is, right? But you have to like there are places, if you, let's say like the Grand Canyon or New Zealand happens to be, my example of this, right? Like it's just breathtaking, like literally breathtaking. There's nothing else to say about it, but you have to get out
right
to the Grand Canyon. You have to get on a plane. You have to get on a hot air balloon. You have to open your eyes, whatever it takes. There is an action that we're required to do. And even to experience the wonders of the world, we have to make a choice to experience that wow or to immerse ourselves in that.
I completely agree. And it doesn't even have to be about the wow. For someone who's depressed or anxious, it can be choosing to get up with all of your anxieties and all of your depressions and go to work, go to have dinner. Rabbi Browse talks about this in her book, The Amen Effect, which, I mean, the Amen Effect is to me the second step. Like it's not up to me, and she's smarter than I am and has a bigger vision than I do. Like I would have called the book Just Show Up. It makes a difference when you just show up to shul, to your cousin's wedding, to, your spouse doesn't want to work out, but you do. Or here's a more apt example in my marriage. Sherry wants to do something that's more yoga or body sculpt, and I want to do cardio and weights. We can choose to go to the gym together and we're just showing up, but I'm not necessarily showing up for her if we do that. If I go to Best Abs Ever, and this is an advertisement for Equinox, which we just joined. If I show up at Best Abs Ever, Best Butt Ever, and Upper Body Pump, I think that those were the classes that we went to this morning. Now I'm not just showing up for me, I'm showing up for her because that's warranted in any good relationship. It doesn't mean that I'll do that every time because I need to do more cardio. Right now, she may need to do more cardio too. And maybe when she doesn't want to do it and she shows up and does cardio anyway, she's showing up for me. Right. So elu ve'elu divrei Elohim chayim. It's all kind of divine when you think about this stuff with intention. And to that end, I want to mention something that I learned from Maya, who really, that's my daughter. I know you know that, Yaffa, who taught me that she's getting her PsyD in clinical psych. And she taught me that I think it's a DBT skill, dialectical behavioral therapy skill, where when you're depressed and anxious and can't get out of bed, you do opposite action. Right. And that is a gorgeous way of talking about mitoch shelo lishma ba lishma. You just do it. You work that muscle. And so again, as a diabetic, opposite action. I want candy. Okay, have some protein, and so on and so, or don't eat, whatever the thing is. And I think you're right to pick that up in the song. It doesn't simply have to be a passive thing. Oh, you happen to be in a balloon. You're choosing to go in the balloon so that you can hear the silence and the beauty of the silence, so that you can see the sun bowing down to the desert sand, et cetera, et cetera.
And I think, and it's exactly that. You also said a very important word there, which was intention, which I think is really interesting and important in all of this, because we talk a lot about intent in prayer, right? Having kavanah, having intention when we pray. But what's the intention we have to have? The Talmud describes, what is the intention? And one answer is simply being aware that you are, of God's presence. And I think that's sort of an interesting idea that I put myself in a situation where I could recognize God. I placed myself in a situation where that was possible. And that in and of itself is an intention. That is a choice I'm making to experience these things. And I think I love the idea of the opposite. It reminds me a lot of Rambam, right? My mom says a very similar thing, right? I go to the opposite extreme and I get to the Sheol has the half, right? I get to this sort of golden path, very appropriate for Wicked having just come out. But I get to this golden path where I meet in the middle. And that I think is really sort of a powerful, I love that idea of doing the opposite. And of course, I think sometimes change or even gratitude, especially right now in the world that we're living in, reaching for gratitude actually is a choice and is actually hard work. And I think sometimes we think about I have to pray, but what we're talking about right now, and maybe the song is also talking about, and maybe the psalm is also talking about, is what is the pre-prayer work that actually waking up, getting in the hot air balloon, remembering God's creations, all of those moves are actually pre-prayers, or maybe themselves prayer. And that's what it means. Maybe Abraham also, Vayashkem Avram Baboker, like you said, got up early in the morning. I went beyond the normal, if you will.
Yeah.
I did something extra. And that was just getting up half an hour early, or in your case, what you were talking about with the equinox piece, I gave up what I wanted for someone else. That extra piece got me to a capacity to be able to pray now. And that is really interesting, the pre-work of prayer.
So you identified this issue. I actually think each of those choices is a prayer, right? It's not the pre-work of prayer. It's the kavanah of getting up early. The intention of getting up early is itself a prayer. I want to accomplish. You don't have to say what, but it's a prayer that I'm going to accomplish. The kavanah of the intention of going to Equinox with Shari, yes, there's an intention that I improve my physical health, but I'm also seeking to improve my relationship with my wife. Embedded in those intentions is a desire, and the choice to do those things is a prayer, much as I think Rabbi Heschel talked about this in the context of the civil rights movement, when Orthodox rabbis asked him if he went to shul on the March on Selma, and he said, "I pray with my feet." I'm praying that we treat the Black community equally, was his prayer. And look, it's a slippery slope, though, because everything could be a prayer. But I think this is a place where Judaism and Buddhism connect, because the Buddhist philosophy, I can't really call it a theology, because I think only some branches of Buddhism have a God component. Most do not. It's all about intention, living an intentional life. And Rabbi Schneerson, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, talked about it as a meaningful life. But when you kind of put the philosophies side by side, they're kind of saying the same thing. They just have different technologies of getting there. And of course, the lack of a God piece is a big distinction between the two, but we're pointing in the same direction.
Well, it's interesting because I think I'm curious, but to me, it feels like you're talking about intention and consciousness as the same thing. I wonder about that. In other words, I think from my understanding, like for Buddhism, it's about living a conscious life and a present life. Is this right? Like living in the present and living consciously. I'm not a scholar of Buddhism by any means, so I don't want to speak about something of which I do not know. And I wonder about the piece that I think is interesting about prayer is I love the idea of action as prayer. That's what I hear you saying. I woke up early, that's an action, and it could itself be prayer. I marched for justice, and that in and of itself is a prayer. And I also think there is something important that David, because if we go back to the Psalm for a second, right? What David says, I remembered the days of old, right? And then the Maseadecha Esocheach, I actually spoke about them. I love the idea that everything is prayer, and also something in me is bristling a little bit because we do believe in specific prayer and specific words and specific times of day. And it matters whether I'm Shacharit, Avraham time, or Mincha, afternoon, Isaac time, or evening. I'm actually a different person at different times of day. And my prayers should reflect that difference. And my reality is different. And so the words I say are different. And even if they're the same exact words, they mean something different. And so, I don't want to lose that we do have set structured prayer.
Right.
And perhaps what we need to find is sort of where those things go hand in hand. I have to notice the natural world. I called it free prayer. You're calling it prayer. So we have sort of the physicality or the intention or the consciousness of prayer. And then we have the actual words and thinking about the relationship between those two things. I would never suggest maybe that one is even more important than the other. But I think I would argue we need both things. We need both the prayer that is not the structured words, and we need the structured words to bring sometimes we need external things to bring our consciousness.
Sure. So, I mean, look, to put it in other language that you'll recognize, this is the dialectic between keva and kavana, right? The difference between structured, rooted, appointed prayer, Shacharit, Mincha, Maariv, the morning prayer, the afternoon prayer, and the evening service, and the free-flowing, iterative stuff that just pours out of you. Like, what do you mean? And look, as I don't know if you remember this, but 6-8 years ago, you asked me you remember this? You want to tell the story?
No, you go. You tell it.
You asked me how my relationship with God was, and I said, not so good right now. I don't remember what was going on, but there was something specific going on then. And you asked me if I was going to shul, and I said, not really. I'm not motivated to prayer, and I don't really it just takes too long, and I find it boring, and blah, 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 blah. I had lots of reasons. And you said, what do you mean? You don't have time for shevach, bakasha, and hoda'ah? God, you rock. Please, give me more money and less work and good health. To the requests. Thank you so much for all you've given me. I love my membership at, Hadar or wherever, right? It took under a minute, you said. That is building kavanah, intention, because I'm making the prayers. Yes, it is true that I'm leaving aside the traditional structure in that moment, but if I make sure to do that 3 times a day, now I'm following a version of the structure, and you correctly identify that if I did that, I would find the routine again and be able to immerse myself in prayer more. I think you're right. Like, I believe that the two go hand in hand. If you just do keva, you're going to lose your interest in prayer, or you'll check the box because it's what you do, but you're not building a relationship with the divine. If you just do kavanah, well, you lose all the structure, and equally important, you lose the sense of being part of the shalsheles, being part of the chain, that you are doing what the rabbis believe Avraham did. Now, we can have a whole debate about whether Avraham did that or not, but the rabbis certainly assert that he did. Even though, I'm really going to really digress here for a moment, when you look at that Gemara, the debate among the rabbis, if I'm remembering correctly, is did our forefathers create prayer, or was it based on the sacrifices in the temple? And clearly, because the rabbis don't identify a Musaf originator in a forebear, they clearly are choosing sacrifices. So we talk about Avraham having created prayer, and I'm happy to give it to him. And I personally like to think of it that way. But logically, I don't feel like that's where the rabbis landed.
Well, they don't make a decision, but I think, of course, they just leave it up. But I think what's interesting to me about that is it's of course what happened is I lose the temple and my structure of sacrifices. And so I create something that parallels that. Like, that's what's happening historically, developmentally, right? But I don't want to leave it there. I actually want to say, please understand that when we're talking about prayer, it's not simply ritual. Exactly what you said. It's not simply the keva. I don't want to leave prayer. Prayer is different than ritual sacrifice. I don't want to leave it at set structure. I need you to bring yourself. Exactly what you're saying. And it's interesting because even as I connect you back to Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, those prayers I'm talking about were completely singular. They were on their own and they were spontaneous. They were themselves reactive. So the example I give you of keva is actually kavanah, is actually spontaneous prayer, right? Abraham woke up in the morning. I don't tell you he did that every single morning. That's why I'm telling you it was remarkable that time. So I think there's something, right? Because it was a unique, even the rabbis, when they create structure, and we know they really want structure and love structure and rules, right? Even when I do that, I want to teach you that within the structure I'm creating, I'm trying to make room for you, for your individual voice, for your capacity to react to the world around you. I find that the Abraham, Isaac, Jacob piece is actually an invitation to authenticity, to bringing your full self, to finding where your voice matches. And sometimes it doesn't. Like, I think that that's also really important. The reality is sometimes I pick up a prayer book and I don't want to say a single word in there. I don't, right? And that's the truth of this morning or last week, or right? Like, that's the truth of where I am. And then I have a question, right? Do I get in the hot air balloon? What do I have to do? Do I need to take a walk? Do I need to go look outside? We have a beautiful view of the Palisades. I need to look at my daughter. What do I need to do actually to bring myself to that point? Get in that hot air balloon,
right? And
find that wow, so that I can be authentic. But it's not just like, well, I don't feel it today. See ya, right? I think yours actually demanding something much more from us, Shep. Like, then get in the balloon, right? Do something to get yourself to that place. You don't get to just leave it as, I don't want to.
Well, so I want to bring in two related things. First of all, who we didn't mention, especially because we're talking about tefillah, is Hannah, right? Her prayer was coming straight from the heart. I want a baby. And our form of tefillah, when we have that one-on-one divine encounter, or if you're in a room of 100 people, 100 one-on-one divine encounters, in your silent Amidah, we're moving our lips just like Hannah did. And for me, that connects back to, I think this is the language you were alluding to earlier. How do the rabbis say we approach prayer? Bekoved rosh, which literally means a heavy head. So if you think about it, it could mean, you got to be serious and, macabre. But physically, what happens when you have Koved Rosh? You're looking inward. All right. So that's what I think is going on. The rabbis want you to have, they want you to daven, to pray 3 times a day, 4 on Shabbos and 5 on Yom Kippur. Although there's some question about Mariv for women. That's also a whole other conversation. But they want you to have that keva, that routine, and they want you to do it in a way where you are looking inside to go out. It's building the bridge between your heart and the divine. And that's for me where as someone, I love hiking. I love music. There are things that I love that always inspire me. Art inspires me, but it's kind of like, I don't know what I'm looking at. That's beautiful. And I look. I'm like, okay, I've had enough, and I move on. But music, like I can listen to the same song over and over and over again. Not everybody's that way. Sherry and I are watching a TV series called The Agency, and the title song is Love is Blindness by Jack White. And she skips it every time. And every time she skips it, it kills me because I love that song. It's one of the songs I could listen to over and over again. But for me, that's a moment that's like being in the balloon for me.
You know, it's very interesting, Shep. I never thought about this until you did that action of putting your head down, the Kovid Rosh heavy head move. That's really interesting because there's also, you're looking inward, and maybe there's some wow inside yourself also, right? Like there's one thing about looking out into the world and seeing all the wow outside yourself, but how do we also look inward and say, you know, I'm also a creation of God.
Wow.
I'm also made in the divine image. And like, what's the wow in me that I want to bring out right now to the world?
That's beautiful. I love that chiddush, that new thought. I hadn't thought about that. That's really beautiful. I want to give you credit for something. I don't know if you remember this. We were at Limud in the UK. You were teaching, I feel like it might have been about angels, but I could be totally wrong. You had a derech, you had a path. Here's what you were going to teach, and you were going down that road, and I was on that road with you. Then I asked you a question, and I remember you stopping, just silent. You had Kovid Rosh, you had that internal thing. You were even a little bit pacing, you were mumbling to yourself, and then you said the following. And I say this because it was a wow moment for me. I'd never experienced this. Shep, I can't finish my shiur. I can't finish this class because you ruined it. We're going to follow up with this. And you went on a whole new path that you hadn't prepared. And for me, that was like, oh my God, she's amazing. She's my rabbi. That's the person I want to learn from the rest of my life. So you gave me one of my key wow moments, and I still so value that and miss learning with you.
Thank you, my friend. That's so beautiful. Thank you. And thank you for bringing yourself to that shiur. It was really, obviously, completely changed my way of thinking about the text. Now I want to remember what you said. I don't remember, but I do think I remember what you're talking about. But thank you for that beautiful chidush, whatever it was.
Is there anything else you wanted to ask, or are we at the Dayenu moment?
Just thank you so much for this. It was wonderful to talk Torah with you, to talk music with you, to talk prayer with you. Really a huge honor.
Same.
Thank you so much.
Same. Thank you so much for giving me your time and your wisdom. And my bracha, my blessing to you is that you're able to find that wow every morning, afternoon, and evening, whether you're intentional about it or not.
Amen.
Thanks so much for listening. Special thanks to Yaffa for joining me, to Devin Schwartz for his help in producing this episode, to E-Rose for his help producing the song in this episode, to Jessica Chana-Sweetler for her help on social media, to Liat Silvera for designing the podcast logo. Please check out the incredible art on her website at liatsilvera.com, and to my wife Shari, who brings me to a sense of wow daily. You can find both versions of Morning Prayer and all of the other songs in this song cycle on most platforms that stream or download music, including Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. Speaking of which, please post reviews of the podcast or the episode. It really helps out. And you heard right. I posted 2 versions of the song. One was remixed by E-Rose, and it's the inspiration for the next episode of The Rest is Commentary, in which I talk to my dear friend Tamar Zucker. We discuss starting the day with hope, life being full of unfolding possibilities, beauty existing even in hard moments, the difference between sadness and depression, end-of-life care and how it can reveal truth and dignity, learning from pain, and so much more, all inspired by Tamar's thoughts after listening to Morning Prayer. Please join us.